robotic tripods could be vaporizing New Jersey. Democrats would point out how the death lasers were disproportionately affecting low-income communities and people of color, and AOC would tweet, "Stop demonizing the Martian X community." I think this word equity has come into the language in the last few years, and before that we didn't hear it a lot, and I think a lot of people hear equity and they hear equality. Like it's the same word, and it's not the same word in the same concept. So how would you differentiate between equity and equality?
Well, equality, we talk about, I don't know what the answer to that is.
Bernie AOC 2028, Bill Maher says, absolutely not. Progressives are drooling over a Sanders-AOC ticket in 2028, but Bill Maher just slapped reality in their faces. In a savage monologue, Maher ripped the idea to shreds, calling it a delusional fantasy that wouldn't stand a chance. He claimed a Harris-Walz ticket would steamroll Bernie and AOC, and he brought cold, brutal receipts to prove it. No fluff, no mercy, just facts that hit like a hammer. Want the full takedown? We've got everything. Let's get into it.
What do you think of the fact that the people who are getting the big crowds right now are AOC and Bernie Sanders? They're going around the country. Thank you, there's that same guy. I call him the always wrong guy. Okay, but I feel like, you know, big crowds, again, the shiny object that the Democrats chase all the, it's not about the big crowds that come out to you when you're talking in a festival or wherever they are. I think it's because I think Bernie showed up at Coachella. That must have been fun for the fans. It's who shows up on Election Day. And I just don't see that's the ticket. I mean, Cory Booker, I know you've worked with him. I like Cory a lot from my home state of New Jersey. Made a speech for 25 hours. Again, just whacking each other off. This is just not what's going to get the job done.
Bill Maher didn't even pretend to entertain the Bernie AOC 2028 fantasy. He came out swinging. No warm-up, no filter, dousing the progressive fever dream with a bucket of ice-cold reality. Yes, Bernie's still packing stadiums. And AOC? She's been climbing the polls, landing just behind Kamala Harris in early DNC buzz, even without announcing a run. But Maher? He didn't care. He saw the headlines and went straight for the jugular. The man who accurately predicted Biden might bow out didn't hold back. This time, he went full scorched earth, ripping the Sanders-AOC narrative to shreds before it could even make it out of the Twitter bubble. To Maher, this isn't a bold progressive vision, it's political suicide, a shiny ticket with no shot. And he made it clear, betting on Bernie and AOC in 2028 isn't brave, it's a guaranteed loss. And oh, he brought receipts.
At an AOC Bernie Sanders rally in Idaho last month, someone threw a Palestinian flag over an American flag, and the crowd erupted in approval. What should have happened after that is one of the adults on stage should have told their young, loyal followers, this is not a symbol of freedom. This is.
Maher SLAMS Bernie-AOC? Too woke, too weak, too dangerous. Bill Maher isn't just rejecting a Sanders-AOC ticket, he's obliterating it. Citing a recent protest where activists sided with terrorists, Maher blasted their silence as a silent nod to anti-American extremism. Obscene and unpatriotic, he called it. In a fiery interview with Don Lemon, Maher doubled down. Performative progressives who won't defend their own country have zero business in the Oval Office. His verdict? Bernie and AOC aren't bold. They're reckless.
Love Nancy Pelosi. I think she's a very smart woman, but I think that era of the Nancy Pelosi type in the Democratic Party is over. I think that this is the era of whether, and I didn't like her policies at first, and I'm not necessarily in love with her policies, but people love AOC. People love Jasmine Crockett. People love Eric Swalwell and the like. And I think that the Democratic Party should put the people out there who the people want. They should put the politicians out there who the people want, who they're asking for, who are meeting the moment with the same energy that
they're not asking for AOC.
Yes, they are.
The people you party with are.
No. The people I party with don't like AOC.
Oh, please.
No, they don't at all.
Well, most people don't. But she's AOC, very far left.
Listening to Don Lemon is like riding a political merry-go-round. Confusing, dizzying, and going nowhere. One minute, he's picking apart AOC's policies like they're a joke. The next, he's propping her up as the voice of the people. Wait, which people exactly? Because even his own friends apparently can't stand her. Make it make sense. It's classic Don, trying to flirt with the progressive base while quietly stepping back so he doesn't burn any bridges. It's not conviction, it's survival mode. Meanwhile, Bill Maher, he doesn't need to play both sides. He speaks his mind, drops the mic, and walks off. Audience approval be damned. And that's why Maher doesn't just comment. He hits like a hammer.
Because people will vote for AOC and Donald Trump on the same ticket. Because they're authentic. No, because they're authentic.
I don't think that, Don.
I think you're wrong about that.
What people like about people like Trump and Fetterman is because it's irrelevant to her life.
But you don't know her life.
I know that being a gorgeous woman who I wouldn't even know was Hispanic in a city that has 1 million Hispanics and does not treat them badly.
But that doesn't mean she doesn't struggle. That doesn't mean that she was set down in
it implies it.
But that doesn't mean that she was set down in a Hispanic ghetto in the Bronx and had to deal with that growing up, and that she's come from a working class family.
It implies that it implies that in some way she's behind the 8 ball.
Is Don Lemon even watching the 2024 race? Because suggesting AOC and Trump could ever share a ticket is beyond laughable. It's political science fiction at its dumbest. We're talking about two figures who couldn't be more diametrically opposed if they lived on separate planets. AOC pushes socialism, open borders, and the religion of woke. She rallies in protests, cancels energy projects, and fearmongers about climate catastrophe. Trump? He's the anti-woke wrecking ball. Jobs, borders, unapologetic patriotism, results over rhetoric. Love him or hate him, he's not showing up to link arms with the Green New Deal crowd. This isn't a what if, it's a what the hell. Don may be floating fantasy pairings to stir the pot, but Bill Maher, he's locked in, laser focused, and not here for fairy tales. He sees the game for what it is and calls the bluff without blinking.
I don't know if she's behind the 8 ball, but I don't think she's as privileged as many people who are in Congress right now.
She's not privileged or not. She was a bartender.
Yeah.
You know, so I was a delivery boy.
But I'm saying sometimes, Bill, you don't agree with Donald Trump's policies.
No.
But that's what the people want.
Some of them.
Whether you like her or not, I don't like what she did with Amazon in New York. But I think AOC she's a Democratic icon.
Well, she's the wrong. If you think that's the direction the country, the Democratic.
I'm not saying the policies that she espouses that's the direction, but I'm saying that you have to give the people who are out front speaking for the party, not the people who are.
If you think
she's evolving,
it's hard to hear Maher's point when Don Lemon keeps trying to force feed the AOC hype train. But if you actually listen past the interruptions, Maher drops a truth bomb that cuts through the noise. He's not buying the rags to revolutionary story. AOC, he points out, wasn't raised in hardship. She grew up in Yorktown Heights, a comfortable middle-class suburb. This wasn't the Bronx tale she loves to sell on the campaign trail. It was more quiet cul-de-sac than oppressed underdog. And no, she wasn't cast out for being Latina. That narrative, Maher says it's been exaggerated to build a political brand. So Maher asks the real question. If someone builds their political persona on a struggle that doesn't hold up to scrutiny, what does that say about their credibility, and what could it mean for the future of American leadership? Because if the backstory's a stretch, what else might be fiction?
So if you can get AOC there toward the middle, but, again, for the people that come up to me, Bill, what are we going to do? Well, you can't do much because you lost all the levers of power. What you can do, the thing that you can do, is get on your side to not look crazier than him. That's all you can do. Now go back to your $800 4-plate dinner while you're worrying about how the world is going to end.
What did you say? You don't want to look as crazy as he does?
That's the only thing liberals can do. Just don't do shit that makes people go, oh, Trump, he's just crazy, but at least he doesn't.
Let's be real. AOC dialing it back? Not happening. Ever. Her entire political rise was built on being loud, unapologetically progressive, and radically left. Walking that back wouldn't just be a pivot. It would be a total betrayal of the brand that made her a political star. But this isn't just about her. It's about a Democratic Party that's gone all in on the woke playbook. From climate panic to border chaos to identity politics on overdrive, the fringe has become the foundation. AOC isn't some rogue radical anymore. She's the blueprint. She represents the party's new normal. And if she even tried to soften her stance, she'd risk losing the very base that made her untouchable. The truth? She won't shift. She can't shift, because doing so would mean admitting that the movement she leads might be running in the wrong direction.
Giant robotic tripods could be vaporizing New Jersey. Democrats would point out how the death lasers were disproportionately affecting low-income communities and people of color, and AOC would tweet, "Stop demonizing the Martian X community."
Like Maher, I honestly think the DNC would be making a massive mistake backing a Sanders-AOC ticket in 2028. Sure, Bernie's got his loyal fan base, but let's not pretend he has mainstream appeal. His constant war cries against the oligarchy sound more like recycled slogans than real solutions. And for many, that act is wearing thin. Let's not forget, this is a man who's spent decades in DC, owns multiple homes, and lives very comfortably within the system he loves to bash. For middle America, that reeks of hypocrisy, not revolution. Now throw in AOC, whose progressive stances light up Twitter but divide the actual electorate. Together, they might excite the far left, but they send moderates and independents running for the hills. In a deeply polarized nation, that's not a bold strategy. It's a blueprint for losing.
I think this word equity has come into the language in the last few years, and before that we didn't hear it a lot, and I think a lot of people hear equity and they hear equality. That like it's the same word, and it's not the same word in the same concept. So how would you differentiate between equity and equality?
Well, equality, we talk about, I don't know what the answer to that is. Come me to think of it, equality is equality of opportunity. All right? We live in a society, we want all people to have whatever color your skin is.
Equity, I think, is more guarantee of outcome, is it not?
I think so. I think that's
okay. So which side do you come down on?
Equality.
Here's what drives so many people crazy about the woke left. They throw around fancy buzzwords and jargon, but when asked to explain them, the whole facade crumbles. Take Bernie Sanders, for example, the self-proclaimed democratic socialist who's flirted with communist ideas for decades. Equity is his mantra, repeated like a gospel in every speech. But when he was grilled live to define what equity actually means, he froze. No clear answer, just awkward silence. It was a brutal moment, and Bill Maher had to step in to rescue the conversation. How can you sell a vision you can't even articulate? That's the problem with Bernie, and the woke left as a whole. Empty slogans with zero substance. When confronted with cold, hard poll data, Bernie dodged and deflected, while Maher kept pressing, ripping apart his flimsy talking points. Even more telling, the Democratic Party itself is distancing from Sanders' socialism. Most Democrats in Congress just voted to increase military spending, something Sanders opposes fiercely. If his own party won't back him on key issues, what chance does he have of leading the nation? This isn't just a political debate. It's a wake-up call.
You were advocating at the Supreme Court, I think it was last week, right? Because, or maybe it was this week, that the Supreme Court is looking at Biden's giveaway to people who own debt.
Giveaway is your term, not my term.
Well, they have college debt. Okay, and we're going to give them money.
We're going to forgive debt.
Well, we're arguing about the same thing, but there was no argument. We're giving the money away.
This would be a carbon copy of the Harris-Walz flop, an uninspired duo that failed to excite voters or heal the party's deep divisions. Sure, Bernie and AOC light up the far-left crowd on Twitter and college campuses, but the rest of America, independents, moderates, and working-class Democrats are searching for steady leadership, not radical experiments. This ticket would alienate exactly the voters the Democrats need to win. Business-minded, pragmatic, and middle-of-the-road Americans who've grown tired of the party's extreme turn. Even worse, it hands Republicans a gift-wrapped target. Two candidates openly pushing policies mainstream voters reject. If the DNC wants to stay competitive in 2028, doubling down on the far left is a fast track to defeat. That's a wrap for today. If you love this no-holds-barred breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more eye-opening takes. Share it with your crew. Let's expose the woke agenda together. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.